So I've been away for a while due to some issues I've been having with my wrist. Fortunately, it's now on the mend, and the time I've spent away has given me a lot to think about in terms of game development. One of the things I was struggling with was not really having a clear design direction for the world. I was watching a documentary on Transistor, and they were talking about how originally they had like a completely different main character, which no one on the team could really get behind. And then once they swapped it up and made it Red, and they had the whole identity with the bodyguard who lives in the sword, and he's kind of Red's boyfriend, everyone kind of like found this idea really interesting, and that was one of the things that helped push them forwards into actually finishing the game and making it a complete product. It made me kind of realize that I was designing a bunch of mechanics and concepts without really having a world to put them in. I think games like Portal are good examples of deeply mechanical games that just wouldn't be the same without the world that exists for them to be in and for players to experience. Another thing that feels increasingly relevant is how mortal we as humans are, whether that's a medical issue, problems with your wrist, or getting the coronavirus. It feels like we don't have a lot of time always on this earth, and games take a lot of time to make. So I started thinking about how best to cut down on this time. One good example was a talk by Owen Goss on how their tiny kind of like 6-month mobile game took about 4.5 years to make, and it mainly came down to certain design decisions made with the intention to better compete in the market and add value to the user. For example, they swapped from 2D to 3D because they felt it suited the PC market more, but they ended up having to do large expansive level designs. They added local multiplayer to perform better at events, and they added a whole story campaign to give the users something to do that wasn't just racing tracks. And it feels like a lot of the time investments come where, you need to do big open level design, or you need to do like long expansive narratives. Things like that can add years to a project, even though you might just want them for a small thing. So I think a lot of us start indie game development because there's something we like and we want to see more of it, or we want to see it improved, or we just have a cool idea. And we don't really think about it in the way of, how do I design a product? There was a talk by Janessa Olsen on designing a minimum viable product for a game. And I feel like we tend to think about this as, hey, we take our great game idea and we just strip it down to its bare bones set of mechanics and rules and things like that. She described it more as trying to create a smaller product that still fulfills like a subset of your original idea. So, for example, like if you were aiming to eventually create like Skyrim or something by yourself, which is a fairly big ask, you could first design like a small like arena game or a assassin game where you play as like a assassin in a guild and you go out and do missions in very like small areas. Or, for example, you could design a roguelike that implements some of the combat mechanics. Things that stand as individual products by themselves and still allow you to experiment with some of the ideas that you would later need for like the bigger product. So I've basically decided that going forward I'm going to try doing just that. I'm going to try having a smaller product that fulfills some of the same ideas that I had with my farming game. And currently that's basically what you see now is I've got a little like stranded island that you can run around on, and I've got some plans for like how the world's going to play out and how the story's going to go. I'm going to make another video on that because it still needs a lot of polish, so I'm kind of doing that now. I'm going to post a video maybe next week on that. So yeah, that's basically the plan for now. I'd like to thank everyone who's been leaving comments on the videos. I've kind of been stuck at home not being able to do much, so seeing them has really helped. And especially on tutorial videos, I'll see if I can try and do some more of them, as they've been received really well. And I've got certain things I've been able to reuse between my farming game and the new stuff, and I think that might actually be useful for people. So I'll see if I can like figure out a way to package that into a nice tutorial. It might end up being more like Sebastian Lag's tutorials, where it just explains how I got to the end result, and then just, hey, here's the files. But we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more of this nonsense, and yeah, good luck in your own development.